Call this meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Open forum. Is there anybody that would like to speak? If not, I would actually like to take the time to speak myself. I've been getting more phone calls lately about skunks running around the neighborhoods. Not that I was 100% believing, but I did see one baby skunk that was dead on the west side of Melrose, and I personally saw a big skunk walk past my front window 2 nights ago, and now I have a constant smell of skunk. I was wondering if we could look at something to do, because I know the one daycare was concerned that if something happens, if children think that it's a pet, go up to them, something might happen. So in my opinion, I just hope that we look into something or do some trapping or whatever, because I maybe didn't take it too serious, but now I've seen pictures, I've seen skunks. I've had one person said that the skunks were following him, and I think that's too close to home, and I don't like it. So hopefully something, look at it and maybe bring it forth for sure with some answers within a week or two, or an antidote by next meeting, hopefully. So that's my opinion on the open forum. All right, we're on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes. Approval of the
Motion to approve.
Okay, we'll go through the bills and purchase orders, approval of the investments. There's gambling resolutions, one for St. Mary's, one for the Chamber of Commerce. And then we do have 2 resolutions. Resolution number 2021-34, donation amount of $100 from Janice and Daniel Neatfelt to the Melrose Ambulance. Resolution number 2021-35, donations, various sponsors towards the Melrose Park and Recreation Capital Campaign for the Golf Scramble. Resolution number 2021-36, donation of truck hauling services from Melrose Bedding LLC in the amount of $725.33 for hauling ground chips for the zip line down in the Sauk River Park. There is a pay voucher, and then EMT appointments. Can I get a motion to approve the whole agenda?
So make a motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. On to reports. Fire Chief Tom Booty, ISO report. Some very good news there, I hear, Chief.
Good evening. Earlier this year when I was at one of the council meetings, I mentioned we were going through our ISO ratings. And this is done every 5 years. They come out and do a rating on our fire services and what we offer and what we've all got done, and then they provide the results of those. Within your packets electronically, I believe you received a full copy of all the reports, so I expect you to give us a cliff notes. No, pretty lengthy report in there. But just to give you a little high overview of how the process works is, like I said, every 5 years, ISO reaches out to the fire chief and asks us to complete some documentation. They'll reach out to the city wastewater treatment plant, and Tim Vogel was assisted in that, and I appreciate Tim's efforts. They have to go to certain hydrants throughout the town, and they test our water flow. And then we got to provide them some training documents, inventory of what we have on our trucks and what our trucks are capable of doing, response calls, schools and trainings that our officers attend, and then we also have to provide equipment from what our neighboring departments have within a 15-mile radius of us to help determine if we need them for mutual aid, what they have available. They take that all into consideration, and they divide it into hydrant areas and non-hydrant areas. And the non-hydrant areas are 5 miles from our area. Our current ratings right now in the hydrant area is a 4, and our non-hydrant area is an 8. Like Mayor Finken said, we got good news to say that we've dropped our hydrant area to a 3, and our non-hydrant area up to 5 miles is a 7. So what does this mean for us and the residents in our fire district area? Starting January 1st, 2022, they will have a reduction, should see a reduction in their rates, and I would strongly encourage you to contact your insurance and let them know that our ratings have dropped, and they should see a reduction in their insurance. We continue to improve and look at our services and equipment and see what we can do to lower it. I guess one thing I would rely on you guys maybe is if you guys run into potentially Stearns County Sheriff Steve Soika, I believe is his last name, and Bob Dickhouse. They are right now in the process of looking at a new dispatch software. Our dispatch software does not allow us to auto mutual aid for structure fires. The new software should do it because they have it down in the metro and they can auto aid, which will also help in our ratings and lower not just ours but all the county within Stearns County, the fire department. So we can't call them up and say, hey, start Freeport on mutual aid. That does not consider auto aid. It has to be automatically dispatched through the computer system. So if you guys have anybody you run into any of those guys, please put a bug in their ear. I've been bugging them pretty good that this new software should have that, which will residents in the Stearns County should see a reduced rate or help out in the ISO ratings. With that, I'll open it up to any questions that you guys have.
Can you just sort of give us, do you have the ratings, like compare us to St. Cloud or?
I know the neighboring community fire departments are going through it right now. I do not know what they are. We will be finding out because we all got, I want to say hit at the same time, but SOC asked what we have on our trucks, Freeport, Lake Henry, a couple of different ones. So I do not, sorry, I can't answer that one, but.
No, I didn't know if you could compare us to St. Cloud.
When I talked to the previous chief, Kramer, when I told him we went from a 4 to a 3, he's like, that's not possible. I'm like, it's possible. He thought 4, and they thought 4 was the highest rating or the best rating you could get in rural areas, but they recalculated the numbers and we were able to drop it a point. So it's hats off to the department members for putting the time and effort into it, the city for investing in the water supply system. So it's a team effort.
And I would assume that the insurance companies probably check this annually just to make sure that if ratings change, they can bill more, maybe not so much less, but like you say, it'd probably be a good idea sometime in December to contact your carrier. Yep. And advise them that we did get a more favorable rating, so they'll look into it.
Yep, exactly. Mm-hmm. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, yep. And I just want to acknowledge Chief Woody put a lot of time into this. This is a pretty strenuous process. You do every, 5 or 10 years. So thank you very much, Chief. Central Minnesota Housing. Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
So my name is Messina. I'm with Central Minnesota Housing Partnership. We are administrating the current Small City Development Program grant that has just been extended for the city of Melrose. Kind of just where we're at. We have a goal of 8 owner-occupied projects for this grant period. We are at 6, we're at 4 projects completed. We have 2 underway, with then now the grant being extended to September 30th of 2022. We have the ability and funds to do 3 to 4 more projects. We started in October of 2018 with a $156,000 grant for the owner-occupied. Our balance right now is $54,612, and that does include the 2 projects that are already underway. Like I said, the new expiration date is September of 2022. Our max amount per project is $21,000. Your projects have been averaging more between $15,000 and $20,000, which gives us the ability to possibly help more than the goal of 8 homeowners.
If someone's interested, how do they reach out to you?
So at this time, I do believe it's still up on your website. Is that correct? It is also listed on Central Minnesota Housing Partnership's website. If they are in the 2 target areas, and we do have maps, and I'm working on trying to get interactive maps as part of the website. We're working with a outside company on that. If they are in those 2 target areas, then they would contact me, and it's an application process. We would still be able to hopefully get some projects done this year, but with the recent hail damage and storm areas, we are kind of behind on some of those projects.
All right.
So then we also I do have some kind of before and after photos if you would like to see them, as far as we've helped homeowners with roof, siding, windows, furnace, water heater, GFCI outlets in bathrooms and kitchen areas. Some of the reason that we had to ask for the extension was COVID. Shut down, a lot of projects stopped and didn't even move forward. In regards to homeowners kind of backing out, not comfortable having people in their home, to contractors just, per the order, having to stop construction, and then that put, a ripple effect in regards to products. Right now, windows are still 12 weeks out from date of order. So these 2 projects that are currently underway are both roofing, so they are hoped to be finished before the end of September. But we can't guarantee that, so we had to move forward with that extension. Commercial properties, we also have a grant for commercial properties. Our goal is 4. We have completed 1. In this 1 project, we did roofing, siding, or roofing, windows. Sorry, I put a note on it. Roofing, windows, service door, and some masonry brick repair on the building as well. We started this grant with $120,000, and we have a balance of $80,120, so we still have funds available. I have 1 application that has been approved, and the owners have kind of been a little more hesitant in looking at bids because of the crazy construction prices right now. As things have started to come back down a little bit, I'm hoping that they kind of move forward and we can still help them with their project. What our plans are for the for moving forward with your project is we will resend out letters, advertise again on your website, social media platforms, just letting people know, especially in the 2 targeted areas. Commercial is also a targeted area, so that it's not necessarily citywide, but we do have funds available for those in those areas. Any questions for me?
Can those areas change, or is there a way to open it up citywide?
Unfortunately, this far in the game, we cannot. That did come up and something that we did look into, and per deed, because the environmental reviews have been done and they are specific to those targeted areas, we cannot change them. The end result would be that we just wouldn't meet our goals, and the funds would just be given back to deed then. Doesn't mean we can't reapply. It's not looked upon negatively if those funds aren't all used, but we would not be able to reapply for the city of Melrose until 2023.
Thank you.
It's good to know.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, okay?
Yes.
Police Chief Mouse, good day, sir.
Good evening. Our August 2021 numbers in our traffic area: 23 citations, 77 verbal warnings, no written warnings. For the month, we had 292 calls requests for service. Last year was 417, so we're down about 125 overall there. But for the year, we're still up by 93, so we ended up on ICR 2556, and last year was 2463. Agency assist calls were at 30, so a little bit higher than average. Nothing major on any of that. Couple calls over in Stock Center for some unruly activities and sorts of things, but nothing that was too major. Another area, we do have the homecoming parade tomorrow, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, leaving from the high school, coming down past Sauk River Park, down Main Street, and then past Pine Villa. So if anybody's available or able to, step outside the business or along the parade route. The students appreciate it, and we do as well when we get to see fuller parade routes, at least during the middle of the day, and to at least do that for the students again this year. Any questions?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
City Attorney report.
I wished I had something new to report. See that the Bonner action just is still winding its way. There was a hearing. I think the judge was wanting to get some clarity from Bonner's attorney as to what exactly he was trying to get at with this preemption argument, and so we discussed that for better part of an hour on a Zoom meeting, and the end result was that the judge has asked for more memos, and so Mr. Bonner's attorney is submitting his memo, and it's due tomorrow. So I imagine Friday, probably about 4:30, I'll get it. And then 2 weeks later, I put in a response. So that's still pending. The other item that happened is, this is a civil suit, and as part of that, there's, discovery procedures where each party can ask for information from the other. We received a discovery request looking for copies of documents. Basically, you got to narrow it down, anything involving Bonner or the mobile home park going back the last 3 years. And, the city staff has been very good about going through the records and assembling. We got it all kind of put into one place on all electronic. We won't be giving them any paper. And I'm just in the process of reviewing those to make sure that there's nothing in there that is confidential, that shouldn't be released. And I'm just about finished with that, and we'll copy the pictures and the PDFs onto a thumb drive and mail it out to them. But so far as any other progress towards an actual trial date, we're really no closer than we were a month ago. The good news is that's the only thing that I've been called upon to ask about for the city in the past month. So, the good news is that the rest of your operations don't seem to require much attention from me. So,
Sounds good.
any questions, anybody? Thank
Thanks,
you.
Scott. City engineer report.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council. The 2021 street improvement project finally has some good news there. We're nearly complete. Final lift of asphalt scheduled for tomorrow. So we do have the first lift down. The soil restoration has been done. So weather depending, we're looking pretty good for getting pavement down tomorrow. There were a few delays from the contractor with they had a COVID issue and then some trucking issues. So good news is we're finally getting to the finish line on that. Getting closer to the finish line on the RDB project as well. 100% local agency plans have been approved by the city and county, and they're set to MnDOT for final review and approval. Should hear back soon on that. Revised dam repair plans and operations manual has been submitted. Bridge plans have been revised and sent back to MnDOT on some comments that they've had. Permitting wise, just waiting to hear back from FEMA on the Clomar And also Sauk River Watershed District on the permit from there. Should hear back soon. And we're still on track pending funding availability to bid out in October, November. So that's all I got. Any questions I can answer?
Still don't know if we have funding?
Nope.
Something else, isn't it?
Waiting game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad.
Hopefully.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
Well,
Nick.
thanks a lot, appreciate it. City Administrator report. Queen.
So, just to add a little bit onto what Nick was talking about. The other thing is the county is actually doing, I think they're obtaining bids or having contractors come and look at the building that has to be demolished. It would be the building that is just west of Ilias Auto Body. So it's that building there. And I believe it's the 27th of September, they have kind of like a on-site type of thing where people can, potential folks that could demolish it can go on site and ask questions, that type of thing. If you notice during the storm, one of the things that happened is on the other side of the Ilias building, there are two, the old dry cleaner and the old, I understand it used to be a service station. They sustained some damage, and I'm not sure if those buildings are really salvageable. But the challenge is going to be there's probably some significant environmental issues with those buildings if in fact it was an old dry cleaner and there's storage tanks potentially underneath. So one of the options would be to look at applying for brownfields to do some investigation on that site. We have not had success in meeting with that homeowner or that property owner yet, so that's kind of the next step, is to engage them in a conversation just to see what their thoughts are about what they want to do. So just FYI on that. It's in your packet, but there's two reports, one for the wastewater plant and one for the North Water Tower. The North Water Tower is done. We're just waiting for Verizon to get their equipment back up on the tower. They're still using the temporary tower site that they have out there. Wastewater is great. We've actually submitted we've paid our fourth payment to Magny without having any money yet from the state of Minnesota. So fortunately, I think that's hopefully behind us. The mayor signed off on the information tonight, and so hopefully that money is coming. But that's kind of where we're at with that project. At the moment, we are on hold with the city planner position. Not that we don't need a city planner, we absolutely do. It's just that we are trying to strategize when would be the best time to go out and advertise for that particular position. And then if we're going to add some other additional duties to that job description. So we're in the process of union negotiations, both with the police as well as with the AFSCME, which represents the utility side of the city. Housing, the city, as you all know, hosted a housing summit on August 25th. I want to personally thank the council for being there. It means a lot, I think, when you have your whole council there, along with members of MATA and then some of the bigger businesses. So thank you for doing that. We are very close to being able to present an overall strategy to the MATA board next week at their September 23rd meeting. We're also negotiating with a property owner on a potential land purchase. So we're getting pretty close on that one too. Other projects, I think it may have been mentioned or you may have heard, but the U.S. Bank site pending conditions has been sold. Quick Trip has entered into a contract for that particular site. And obviously it's dependent on traffic study is one of probably the biggest things, and then soil evaluations. Those are probably the two bigger things that they have to look through to see the feasibility of that particular site. There are two building projects going on right now. Harlan Hector, who owns property on the west side of town right next to the interstate, is actually putting up another mini storage facility. And then Pete, I can't think of it, the feed mill is actually putting up another facility as well. And then I've got two other businesses that potentially could be looking at some expansion opportunities in the next year. And on September 27th, we're going to be having a meeting with Missouri River Energy Services, just like we do with our water, our sewer, that type of thing. Rate studies, we also have to do that with our electric side, and we hadn't done a rate study for quite some time. And knowing that we're going to be entering into time of use, along with some probably more demand for electric charging stations, it just seemed like a very timely thing to do, is get the report, or get the that scheduled for a rate study. So we're meeting with MRES on the 27th of September to go over that rate study, and then those findings will be presented to the public utilities, as well as information will be brought back to the council as well. Two other topics, kind of present topics that have come up, and I just want you to be aware of them. One is we received an email from the Minnesota Department of Health. We are in a first round of communities that they are looking at to ask to monitor their PFAS, I'm not saying that right. I'm not even going to attempt the word. It's basically sort of forever chemicals that get in the water system. So if you think of 3M and Scotchgard as an example, and you think of the communities around 3M, and it's been in the paper as of late, what they have put into the groundwater and source water, it's that type of thing that the state's taking a hard look at. And I'm not sure the criteria for why they picked the communities that they did, but if we choose not to participate and opt out in 2 years, it could be that it's something that's mandatory. So there's kind of a couple different ways that you can look at that. I don't know as a decision has to be made. We just received this information on Saturday, and actually WSB is contracted with MDH to do the sampling. So I've asked Nick to reach out to whoever in their group can get back to me, because the letter didn't even have a date on it as to when we'd have to get back to them. So I just want you to be aware of that, and it's a topic that will be coming back to the council probably in the future. So the tough part about PFAS is we as the city have very little control over them, but yet, you know, they want us to sort of fix the problem, and I'm guessing it's an extremely expensive problem to fix. So, you know, stay tuned on that one. The other one, just so you're aware, and again, this is one of those that I don't know what I don't know, I guess, is how I'm going to say it. You know, there's some federal mandates that have recently come up regarding vaccinations, that type of thing, and there's been some question about what impact that may or may not have on our EMS departments. And at this point, you know, there's certainly nothing that mandates that, but we're just trying to understand what it means and if it will impact us, you know, long term. And that's what I have about that for now. I don't have any additional information. As we discussed, just as a reminder last week, for the city employees that come in our buildings, they are masked through at least September 28th. So just FYI for everyone on that as well. One of the things that I probably will be doing next month, depending on what happens, and again, everything changes, but I would like to be able to bring back an action plan, not because I think we have to put an emergency order in place, because I don't think we do, but just because I think as a council, I want us to just review what we have in place when we're dealing with a pandemic type of situation, and what your feelings are about how we need to handle it. Are we doing what we need to do? We want to have that check-in with you guys to make sure you're comfortable with how it's proceeding. So that I will bring back to you, and hopefully I'll have some additional information about some of these other things that have kind of come out more on a, you know, obviously federal and state level. So that's what I have for now, Mr. Mayor and council members. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Done with reports. We are on to action items. Tree debris. Who would like to take that one on?
I will start with that one. So on August 28th, we had a storm, as we all know, which, you know, storms happen. We hadn't had one. I think The last storm we had, a significant storm we had before this, I believe was 5 years ago, maybe, not sure. Melrose had, but anyway, a storm came through obviously in Melrose as well as north of Melrose that resulted in a lot of downed trees and other damage. We made the decision that Saturday, right away, to open up the I-94 industrial park and let people dump their tree debris. That's great, we need to do that for our citizens. However, because of the path of how the storm took, there weren't options necessarily out in the township or the county, and so we believe and know that you know, a significant amount of the tree debris that came into that site was from folks that, you know, don't necessarily live in the city limits of Melrose. So one of the things that I did is I did reach out to both Melrose Township as well as Millwood Township to say, you know, what are your guys' thoughts? Normally, if you're out in the township and you have tree debris, if you're on a farm, you're on acreage, you just pile it up, you wait till winter time and you burn it. In this case, what happened was the areas that were damaged are those areas within those townships that are very highly populated. So it was, you know, it was Birch Lake, it was Gray Eagle, it was concentrated, I think it's Lake Sally, concentrated in areas where there was a significant number of residents. In fact, I actually physically met with Melrose Township and I went and looked at, I went out and looked at a lot of those sites out there. So, you know, I think that both of the townships are pretty open to working with us. We've always had a very good relationship with the townships. And so they said, you know, if you need some assistance in getting that cleaned up, you know, we're willing to take a look at it and, you know, do some sort of cost share, which is great. But the other thing that I did also want to know is if we could kind of do a controlled burn, which would be the best way to go because, you know, obviously we could do it in the wintertime. Very little impact, very little cost. However, because of where the site is located, it's right next to I-94. And I did talk to Chief Bodie about it, and it's going to be a little bit difficult to do that because you can't let that smoke go across the interstate. So, you know, we'll kind of have to wait and see if that's a possibility. Otherwise, in the meantime, we are getting quotes from different companies that can come in and actually just get it all removed. After, we also made the decision on September 3rd to close it because it had been a week. And after that time, we did see, you know, we put barriers and stuff up, but people just went around them and piled more on the piles. I did ask Gary, you know, does it seem like there's more out there right now than after we closed it, or after the weekend, I should say, so after Labor Day weekend. And, you know, I don't know if there's a significant amount more. My understanding in talking to everyone is this pile is much less than what it was 5 years ago, comparatively speaking. So I guess just for your consideration, I would like to kind of have a plan in place for future events like this. So do we open it up for storm events and then work out some sort of a cost share agreement with the county and the townships? Do we open it up and have an employee at the site checking IDs, which again, that could be very problematic because number one, you're taking staff time, and number two, then people are just gonna come when there's nobody around and probably, you know, get rid of their debris, whatever. Do we look for a more secured location? And Gary and I went and looked at if you guys know where the old city dump site is, I'm not saying it's more secure, but it's far enough away from the interstate that in the wintertime, if we had to pile trees up, we could certainly burn out there much easier. So that's one of the things to consider. And then is it something we want to open up during other times of the year? So those are kind of the questions. I know years ago, Melrose did have a compost site and they did have a tree debris area, but unfortunately it was abused and it was a significant issue for us. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention to get input from the council to see what your wishes are or how you would like us as staff to pursue this.
I know the old dump site is a great place for it, but I believe that's in our wellhead protection plan, and that was part of the reason why it was closed that time, wasn't it?
No. It is in our wellhead protection plan.
Yeah.
It is.
The number 7 well was a concern that time because that was more of a hole. The site that Colette's talking about is on Riverview Road to the north. That's the old dump site.
Yeah, but
It's still in the wellhead protection area, but it's higher
Is
ground.
that somewhere in the
Yeah.
city of Mayor's Pit then?
No, if you go down 173 and you take a left on Riverview Road, on the left side, see, the city owns on both sides of that river.
Oh, that berm,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
berm that sits there on the left.
Yeah, there's actually probably a wall of gravel on
Yeah.
all the way around it, probably 10, 12 feet. There's a fairly large open area there.
Well, and other communities, not a lot, but other communities do have a place to dump leaves, grass clippings, branches for these storm events and so on and so forth. And I think that is a very nice convenience, but number one, it would have to be secured. Number two, I think that it'd be limited hours and you have somebody manning it, and it may not necessarily be streets personnel. We might have to hire somebody. But a permitting process, $10 a year or $20 a year, and you just put a sticker in your truck or something like that, and that'll allow you to dump for the year. Like I say, grass clippings, leaves, that sort of thing. If somebody from out of the city wants to purchase one of these and they're within a reasonable distance, but I think there's a lot that needs to be talked about. It's not something that's going to come about this year. We want more input from Gary. And like I say, I think we have to put up some sort of fencing and some sort of a gate so that folks just can't pull something out of the back of a pickup and pull it under a bar and drag it up on the pile. And then figure out what kind of a fee, if any, structure system we're going to have. So,
That sounds reasonable to me. I mean, I had a few people call and go, where do I go with this stuff? I'm like, well, I think they might have opened up a temporary site by the industrial park, but I'm not sure. If we had something established, then we wouldn't get as many phone calls about it. I don't, fee system actually doesn't sound too bad in my mind, just because that way, if you are going in there, without the permit, that might be enough of a, whatever to, like Joe White.
an incentive to be honest.
Yeah, like keep people honest. Where they don't have the sticker, and I better not do it because if I get caught, then it doesn't look good. If you just open it up year-round to certain residents, well, anybody will go in there.
But we also have to keep in mind it's a wellhead protection.
Yeah, and that would
That's a hard
yeah.
thing. And plus, our garbage, they take most of the stuff except for the huge branches. And I think if we would examine our contract a little closer, they're supposed to take stuff with, was it 2 to 3 inch thick?
Up to 4 inches, as long as it's cut.
3 inch
Yes.
and bundled in 3 foot.
And basically, we have the right to bring it to Sauk Center and dump it off there. Is that correct?
No, we called it the last one, see, when Urban Beckers owned it, he had a compost and brush site out there. When he sold the business, at first we were able to do a little bit, but after that, I actually reached out to him when we had that last storm. It had to be 4 inches or less and bundled. I believe it was 3 or 4 feet maximum length, and they did not allow anything hauled out there in some center.
Okay.
That was one of the reasons we opened up this
Yeah.
site 4 years ago.
I definitely think we should at least examine the contract that we did have with them that time, because I know that is coming up again, so
Yeah,
it should be something in there to know for sure. Okay?
And as long as we're looking at it, maybe we actually talk to them and ask them, when we start going into negotiations for the next round of garbage pickup, get ahead of it and ask Waste Management, what is their take on? Because obviously the contract was put in place prior to Waste Management taking over. So we really don't know what Waste Management is going to want to do about, especially the yard waste stuff. If that's going to be a service that they're really interested in continuing or not. So maybe ask them that question too. I don't know if they do that in other communities or not.
Yeah.
So,
And like I say, I think it'd be a very nice perk to be able to provide that service. But I don't believe that we can make a decision now or probably even next month, because I'd really like to have more input from Gary, because ultimately it's gonna fall on Gary's lap as far as figuring out a secured area. And I'd be happy to sit down with Clean and Gary or whatever and try to hash some stuff out. But,
Yeah, and also Tim has to.
we want to make sure it's a manageable situation for us, a perk for the community and maybe the surrounding area. But there is no free lunch, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I think we'd have to have somebody manning that area when it is open, just to make sure there isn't construction debris or whatever else coming out of a trailer or a pickup truck, because one person will ruin it for everyone if that's the case.
Yep.
and I think that was, like, getting back to what Gary was mentioning, the old dump site. I know they had to go up to the power plant, get the key, to run out there, open the gates, you could dump. I don't know if that's something we can talk about again too, is having it gated. You gotta stop City Hall, get the key if you got a load of stuff you wanna bring out or not, I don't know. But,
One thing is, with the service that is provided now, I believe they leave trash barrels for live clippings and
Yep.
stuff.
right,
And if you wanted to consider something just for the brush throughout the year, there wouldn't be a lot of it. One option would be looking at possibly getting some kind of a roll-off and just put it in a certain area and have people, if you have to charge a little fee or whatever, have them go and, at least notify somebody that they're doing it, so you got a little control on it. It's gonna be really hard to man it on a daily basis, if you had certain days maybe, or.
And I'm thinking 10 to noon on a Saturday and 4 to 6 on a Sunday, and that's your chance. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
And if you had a big event like this, it's gonna be.
Well, and yeah.
We'd have to do something
Right.
like we're doing now, because there's just no way you're
Yep.
gonna be able to continue.
So does this answer the questions that you've asked, Lee?
I think it's giving us some direction that we can go in, so we can start there and we'll go from there
Yeah.
and bring something back. Again, I think we get cleaned up what's out there now. That's our first priority, and then we'll bring back a plan.
The biggest thing is if we were to use that site out there, can we burn there? I mean,
Yeah.
even though it's in the wellhead protection,
That's the biggest
can we
question.
actually do it? I mean, if we can't do that,
Yeah.
then we might as well just keep going to the industrial park. It's closer for everybody and paying but to keep paying thousands of dollars to have that stuff shredded.
And another option, when the person would have to look into it, you could actually set up a camera.
yeah,
And there again, you could go back and look at footage if you notice something out there. You can go back, like we have in our park system and our substations.
It's right by the fire.
Again, I don't know what the cost would be, but that would keep people really honest.
Right.
But just make sure Tim's involved with this, because he has all the documentations for the water. So. All right.
That would be the first thing to check out, if we could even burn out there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we can definitely burn up there. My recommendation is to push it more closer into by the road than it is towards the freeway. My only concern is the larger diameter logs that they have out there. Those will burn for days, and those businesses around there could potentially smell that for days on end. So if we could at least remove those and the smaller brush, we definitely light it up and burn it quickly and be done with it.
or burn one night and whatever burns, and you hose down whatever's left, and then get rid of the
Those, like I
logs.
said, when I drove out there, the big tree logs and stumps, I mean,
Yeah,
they'll burn, but it's gonna burn for days, so I would
yeah,
say-
you'd have to, probably get a fire truck out there to actually put it out the next day or whatever yeah.
Okay. We all clear on this? We good?
Good enough for now.
All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, action 6C. Chief Mouse is requesting the council to give consideration in hiring Dave Bonfield to fill a part-time officer position.
Yes, we're looking for consideration to fill a part-time position. Right now, we have 2 active part-time officers. We have one that's doesn't have enough credits to continue with their license, and we're going to be most likely moving towards walking away from that person. They have taken a less active role in law enforcement, and it appears as though that they're walking away from the career. So we're looking to add Mr. Bonfield. He is a retired Stearns County deputy. He does have a full-time job as well now that he's retired, but has indicated that he'd like to stay in law enforcement, not to the degree of full-time work, but would like to still be able to work some weekends and some periodic shifts throughout the week if his schedule allows it. So very minimal training. Geography would be our biggest issue. He runs the same computer system we've always used through Stearns County, whatever else. So there'd be some nice benefits there, as well as some potential availability for when we do have gaps in the schedule, which thankfully has been pretty rare, but they have come up on and off here. So
Sounds great. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
okay. Pending a successful background, psychological and physical, we'll probably come forward with his hire date and those sorts of things to you guys.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the old business, resolution number 2021-37, resolution adopting the proposed tax levy, approving the 2021 tax levy collectible in 2022.
Good evening. So staff met with the department heads and city council prior to our August 19th meeting, where we reviewed the budget as well as our 5- and 10-year capital plan. While preparing next year's budget, we looked at both what our current fund balance reserves are, how we can slowly spend those down while maintaining steady tax rates, and also our levy adjustments. So over the next couple months, we're going to continue reviewing that budget, narrowing down some of the numbers while we have more information coming in that we're waiting on. But we do need to certify a preliminary levy to Stearns County by the end of this month. The proposed preliminary levy for the general fund we have at $1,400,000, and the debt levy at $90,000, for a total of $1,490,000. That would be consistent with what our current levy is at. Our goal is to bring that back down, but as a reminder, we cannot go any higher at our final levy, so this just gives us that cushion in case something were to come up. The goal is to bring that back down a little. So that would be an estimated tax capacity rate of 56.78, which, although the dollar amount is the same as current, it would still be a decrease of just under 3% because our total market value has increased for next year. So we do need to approve the preliminary tax levy, and then another thing we need to do is set our truth and taxation date. We're proposing that to be at the December council meeting, so that would be December 16th at 6 o'clock. Does anybody have any questions?
Sounds good.
All right. So can I get a motion to propose the budget for 2021 through 2026 capital plan? You want to do it in, yeah, that'll work like that, right? The proposed, can I first get the resolution? Motion?
So move.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And then council to approve the preliminary 2022 budget, and that would include the December 16th night when we vote on it, right?
Yes.
Good enough? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. There is no new business. There's some informational items, some utility commission meetings, schools and conferences, the WWFT update, North Water Tower update. Unless there's anything else, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Mr. Mayor, I do have one other thing, sorry. I hadn't put it on the agenda, it just came up today. I apologize. I just wanted to let you guys know that we had there was a chamber meeting today at noon, and one of the things that the chamber and the city have been talking about, and the community as a whole, the business community, is, you know, we have such a great trail system. If you take our trails, the shoulders of the roads and the sidewalks, but a lot of people don't know that you have almost 8 miles worth of ways to bike or walk around the community, at least if you're not from here. So just today, on October 3rd, which is a Sunday at 2 o'clock, we're doing, I don't know, Melrose in Motion, I think is what? Yeah, actually, I don't know where the chief is. He actually thought of that. So we're inviting the public to come and join us. We're all meeting at the bike shelter, and then we're just gonna lead a little bike run. 7 point, and bike, I mean pedal bike, not like a bike run where we're talking.
That's not a pub crawl, is what you're saying.
No, it's just the first time we're ever doing it. It's not super organized. We just want to see who's going to show up. And then just familiarize people with where all the trails are within our community. Also, we're hoping that new people that maybe started at the school district or Centric here would come out and check it out as well. So I just wanted to make that announcement. Sarah's already, I think, got a Facebook link for it on the chamber website. And we'll, of course, be having that in our social media pages as well.
Okay, can you say a date once more?
Sunday, October 3rd, weather pending. So, hey, we're hardy Minnesotans. As long as it's above 30 degrees, your bikes are still going to pedal just fine. So, as long as there's not snow on the ground and nobody, I think it would be a nice event at 2 o'clock.
Okay, 2 o'clock. All right, sounds good. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.